Have you ever had that feeling, deep down, like there's supposed to be some kind of hidden blueprint for humanity? A true path, maybe, that we were meant to follow, but somehow, somewhere, we got completely knocked off course.
It's a really compelling thought, isn't it? Almost. Yeah, almost haunting.
Exactly. And today, we're going to do a deep dive into some pretty fascinating material that paints a vivid picture, sometimes, honestly, a bit unsettling of just that kind of scenario.
Hmm.
It talks about what it calls a divine plan for how we were meant to exist, and then, crucially, this profound great deception that supposedly, well, subverted the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the core tension in these texts.
So we're going to try and unpack the material you've shared with us, looking into these ancient ciphers, this idea of cosmic balance, and also the claims about this powerful, almost shadowy group they just called the Oak Club.
Right. The Oak Club is central to the narrative of deception.
Our mission, really, for this deep dive is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key ideas from these sources. We want to help you understand the origins, the mechanics of what's described as a profane game.
A game specifically designed, according to this, to keep humanity disconnected.
Yeah.
Disconnected and basically under control.
Yeah. So get ready, because this one, it's probably going to challenge some fundamental assumptions you might have about history, spirituality, maybe even the reality we experience every day.
Okay, so let's start by unpacking this core idea because it really does lay the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. The sources mention a divine cipher and a true and intended way for humanity to live. Now, what exactly do these terms mean according to these texts? It sounds like an inherent design.
Yeah, exactly. It's presented as an original design for how humans should exist, like a cosmic instruction manual almost.
Right, for living in harmony, connection, balance. Precisely. Not just some vague philosophical thing, but like an inherent operating system, something hardwired into us, defining our sort of natural, optimal state.
Okay, so imagine your whole existence just perfectly aligned with the universe's rhythm, like a perfectly tuned instrument in some grand cosmic orchestra.
That's a good way to put it. That's the essence of this divine cipher concept.
But then, and here's where the story takes that dramatic turn, this beautiful inherent design, this whole divine plan, was apparently subverted at the dawn of the cycle.
Right, and the sources point the finger directly at this entity or group they call the OK Club.
Dawn of the cycle. That sounds really foundational, doesn't it? Like a key turning point way back in our history, or maybe even before history as we know it.
It implies a very early, very significant moment of deviation.
And their motive, the sources seem pretty clear on this. They say the Oak Club created their own profane game.
Yes, with the explicit goal, the stated purpose of keeping humanity disconnected and under their control.
So right away, you've got this stark contrast set up. An original state of harmony versus this deliberate, orchestrated move towards control and disconnection.
And what's really fascinating there is the idea that it wasn't an accident. It wasn't just things going wrong naturally.
No, it's just a deliberate altering of the path.
Exactly.
Yep.
A systematic alteration. It implies our current human condition, with all the struggles and imbalances we see. Maybe it isn't just the natural progression of things.
Or just inevitable evolution.
Right. It posits that maybe our reality is the result of an intentional intervention, a kind of profound re-engineering of the human experience.
Which raises a huge question then, doesn't it? If this profane game was designed to disconnect us, what did that original path actually look like?
That's the key question we need to explore. What were the actual characteristics of that harmonious state? If it was truly designed for harmony and connection, what did that entail?
Understanding that original state, like you said, as the sources describe it, that seems absolutely crucial to grasping the full impact of what they say happened next.
Absolutely. You need to see the blueprint before you can understand how the deviations warped it.
Okay, well, that leads perfectly into the next part, because the sources actually give a remarkably vivid description of this original intention. They call it the way of the farmer.
The way of the farmer.
Now, when you first hear that, you might think, okay, simple, pastoral, agricultural.
Right, just about growing crops.
But there seems to be a lot more depth packed into that concept. It's not just about tilling soil, is it?
Not at all. It describes a deeply integrated, holistic way of life. According to this, humanity, in that original blueprint, was meant to live in small, intimate communities.
Okay, small, intimate communities. That immediately brings up images very different from our huge, often impersonal modern cities.
Definitely. Think close-knit social structures, deep bonds, mutual support, a shared sense of purpose, a stark contrast to the isolation that can sometimes plague modern life.
And crucially, these communities, they were meant to engage in a direct and respectful partnership with the Earth. The sources consistently call Earth Gaea.
Yes, Gaia. That suggests a relationship of real stewardship, of reverence. The planet isn't just a resource to exploit or a backdrop. It's seen as a living, maybe even sentient entity we're intrinsically connected to.
So imagine a world where every decision, how you farm, what you build, how you interact with the environment is guided by this deep respect. Like you're communicating with something ancient and wise.
Right. There'd be no waste in that model, no pollution, because every action would be weighed against its impact on Gaia and the community's long-term well-being.
And the farmer, in this deeper sense, understands the rhythms of the seasons. But it goes beyond just knowing when to plant.
Much further, it includes an awareness of the turning of the Zodiac Cycle. That points to a pretty sophisticated cosmological understanding, an innate connection to how the heavens move.
So the farmer doesn't just react to the weather, they live their entire life in sync with these divine harmonics.
It implies this deep, intuitive, almost spiritual connection to all the natural cycles, bird migrations, river flows, moon phases.
And to some kind of overarching cosmic order that guides everything.
Exactly. Imagine a society where every major decision, every action, how you build your house, structure your day, raise your kids, it's all guided by these natural cycles, by the whispers of the cosmos.
So planting and harvesting wouldn't just be work, they'd be
Acts of spiritual alignment, rituals of gratitude, of participating in the grand design.
It paints a picture of incredible peace and stability, doesn't it? A life lived totally in tune with the pulse of the universe.
It really does. It's clear the way of the farmer is presented as way more than just an economic model. It's a complete paradigm for living.
Yeah.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it suggests a society built on principles we talk about now, sustainability, interdependence, spiritual awareness, but maybe on a much deeper, inherent level.
Fundamentally different from a lot of what we see today.
Absolutely. A society like that would have to prioritize long-term ecological health and community well-being over, say, individual gain or rapid expansion.
It implies a kind of wisdom woven right into daily life, understanding the stars being as important as understanding the soil.
Which makes you wonder, doesn't it? What profound qualities, what capabilities might we have lost or perhaps had deliberately taken from us if this original path was truly subverted?
What potential was inherent in that way of the farmer? That's a big question.
A very big question.
Okay, so in this harmonious state, the source says there was something else crucial, a direct connection, something that gave humanity these specific, almost, well, miraculous capacities. Specifically, it mentions something called the Lunar Connection to the Gaea system. Let's try and pin those terms down.
Right. The Lunar Connection. That seems to be about a direct energetic or spiritual link to the moon's influences, which these sources tie heavily to intuition, inner knowing.
Okay. And the Gaea system?
That's described as this intuitive energetic network, almost like a cosmic nervous system, connecting consciousness to a deeper universal wisdom.
And this connection wasn't weak or fuzzy. The sources say it was clear and strong.
Like a perfect radio signal. No static. Crystal clear.
So what did that mean for people, practically speaking? What did this strong connection give them?
Well, according to the text, it meant people possessed an innate sense of morality.
Innate morality. So ethical understanding wouldn't need to be taught through laws or doctrines. It would just arise from within.
That's the idea. An inherent gut feeling of right and wrong, as natural as breathing. No need for external rule books.
Wow. Okay, what else?
An intuitive understanding of the lore, which suggests access to some deeper, maybe ancient, primordial wisdom, not from books or teachers, but an inner knowing, a spontaneous grasp of universal truths.
Like having a cosmic library inside you, accessible instantly.
Kind of, yeah. And maybe most personally significant, this connection provided a direct personal connection to the sleeping monarch.
The sleeping monarch. The sources refer to the monarch as, what? A guiding principle, a supreme being, a foundational consciousness that's maybe dormant now.
It seems to represent that ultimate source or guiding consciousness. And the connection was direct, personal. No intermediaries needed, no complex rituals, no dogma, just a direct line.
That suggests such a profound sense of purpose, of belonging, knowing you're linked directly to the source of it all.
Imagine a world where doubt, moral ambiguity, they're rare, where deep wisdom is just a birthright, And that personal spiritual connection is undeniable, like your own heartbeat.
That's the power they're attributing to this lunar connection. It's immense.
It's truly transformative, if you think about it. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests a world needing no external laws, because morality and wisdom are inherent, like a clear whisper from the Kai system everyone could hear.
Highlighting this profound potential for inner guidance, self-regulation.
And for a collective consciousness naturally aligned with what's good and true. It's not just philosophical. The source is presented as a concrete connection, almost biological or energetic, that once existed.
Which provides such a powerful contrast to our world today, where we grapple constantly with ethical dilemmas, anxiety, the search for meaning.
Exactly. It makes you wonder about the implications of losing such a fundamental internal guide. How might that loss manifest to the problems we see all around us?
Okay, now here's where it gets, I think, really interesting and maybe foundational to understanding the whole tension here, the whole idea of the Great Deception.
Hmm.
The sources describe true worship. And it wasn't about devotion to one specific entity or aspect. It was a reverence for balance itself.
Right. Reverence for the perfect pH balance of the cosmos.
That's such a specific and fascinating analogy, isn't it? pH balance. We think of chemistry, that delicate equilibrium needed for life. But here it's applied to the entire universe.
Suggesting an ideal, vital state of equilibrium. Absolutely crucial for cosmic health and harmony. Any deviation in this view leads to systemic problems.
And this balance wasn't just abstract. It was understood through acknowledging dual principles, complementary principles.
Specifically, an acknowledgement of both the lunar principle of Alpha, the moon, and the solar principle of Beta, the sun.
And crucially, as necessary and equal halves of a divine whole. That equality seems absolutely key here.
Absolutely. It's
Right.
not about picking sides, favoring one, elevating one. It's recognizing their synergy. The moon intuition, reflection, cycles, subconscious, the sun action, outward expression, illumination, conscious mind.
They aren't opposites to choose between.
No, they're depicted as two inseparable sides of the same divine coin. Both essential, both equally powerful, both vital for keeping that cosmic balance. To truly worship the divine, then, was to honor this interplay.
And they even specify a date for this, a sacred day dedicated to balance.
Yes, the Sabbath on Saturday, Saturn's day, was the day to honor this foundational balanced order.
Linking a specific day of our week, something so embedded in our lives, directly to this profound cosmic principle of equilibrium, Saturn, usually associated with structure, discipline, time cycles.
Aligns perfectly here with honoring a balanced cosmic order. It reinforces the idea that true spirituality, in this original blueprint, was about respecting the totality, the yin and yang, the push and pull that maintains the health of the whole universe, not just one piece of it.
This raises such a huge question about how we perceive divinity, or even just reality itself.
It really does. If true worship is fundamentally about honoring balance, it shifts our perspective dramatically.
Away from hierarchical structures, or even monotheistic ones that often elevate one principle.
Towards something much more holistic, inclusive, where duality is celebrated as fundamental.
Exactly. It's not about choosing sides spiritually. It's recognizing the essential, life-giving synergy of opposites as inherent to creation itself.
That challenges so many conventional ideas about religion and spirituality.
Fundamentally, it suggests that health, cosmic health, human health, depends on keeping this delicate equilibrium, seeing the entire system as sacred, not just one part. Which makes the idea of that balance being intentionally disrupted incredibly significant. The potential consequences would be immense. Okay, so we've laid out this really beautiful, balanced blueprint, the divine plan rooted in harmony, connection, cosmic equilibrium. But then, like we mentioned, the sources describe the Great Deception.
The turning point.
And they call it nothing less than a foundational lie. The lie upon which the entire game of the OK Club is built.
So not an accident, not a gradual misunderstanding.
No, according to these texts, it was deliberate, calculated, systematic, a subversion of humanity's true path. And they even name the perpetrator of this first profound inversion.
Yes, their avatar, Queen Semiramis.
Avatar, suggesting a chosen representative, a physical embodiment of the OK Club's will sent to pull this off on Earth.
That seems to be the implication. An agent sent to execute the deception.
And the sources pinpoint the exact moment this cipher got corrupted. A pivotal event. It happened after the death, and they put death sometimes in quotes of the lunar king Nimrod.
Nimrod, representing that alpha principle, the lunar aspect we just discussed.
Right. So after Nimrod's death, Semiramis, who embodies the beta principle, the solar aspect, she declared something transformative, and pretty insidious.
She claimed he hadn't just died. She said he had ascended to the sun to become the sun god Baal.
That specific moment, that specific declaration, the sources identify that as when the cipher was corrupted.
Think about the manipulation there. A figure intrinsically linked to the lunar principle intuition. Inner wisdom suddenly gets rebranded as a solar god, embodying outward power, fiery energy, dominance.
That was the core of the trick, wasn't it? She tricked the world into worshiping the dormant lunar principle as a fiery solar one.
It's a fundamental reversal.
Yeah.
Taking something lunar and recasting it as solar, changing its very nature and power in people's minds.
It's not just a name change. It's, a foundational switch. The pivot point for the whole deception, designed to shift humanity's focus away from inner balance towards external power.
And what's fascinating isn't just the act, but the sheer audacity, the calculated intention. It's a deliberate shift in collective perception, a masterful psychological move to warp the original truth.
Taking something inherent, lunar Imrod, presenting it as its opposite, solar Baal, that fundamentally alters everything that follows.
Exactly. It doesn't just introduce a new belief. It warps the original one, creating a new reality based on distortion. It really highlights the power of narrative, myth, public declaration in shaping how people understand things, and ultimately in controlling them.
This wasn't just a misunderstanding then, or a natural evolution of belief.
Not according to these sources. It was a calculated redefinition of divine power, its attributes, all serving the explicit agenda of the OK Club.
So this foundational inversion, this grand recategorization by Semiramis, it seems to have birthed a whole new religious paradigm, moving humanity away from that balanced worship we talked about.
Yes, the sources say this created the profane religion of the OK Club.
And central to this new manufactured religion was this exclusive focus. They began to exclusively worship the solar principle, beta.
Not just a preference, a deliberate, systematic turning away from the lunar, from alpha, from balance itself, consciously amplifying one half while diminishing or obscuring the other.
And this solar principle gets specifically linked to a very distinct set of attributes.
Yes. Materialism, fire, power, and commerce.
That's such a crucial distinction from the original balanced worship. Suddenly, the focus shifts overwhelmingly to tangible, often aggressive aspects of existence. Materialism. The endless drive to accumulate wealth, possessions, making external stuff the measure of success.
Fire, symbolizing maybe destruction, uncontrolled force, consuming energy rather than nurturing warmth.
Power, meaning dominance, control, hierarchy rather than cooperation.
In commerce, becoming an end in itself, driving growth and profit, maybe disconnected from actual community well-being.
So this exclusive worship essentially elevates these attributes, often at the expense of the lunar qualities: empathy, intuition, community, inner peace. It's a profound reorientation of values.
Absolutely. And if we connect that to the bigger picture, this shift isn't just theological. It's not just about how people pray. It's a complete change in humanity's operating system.
Changing the very fabric of how societies organize themselves, what they prioritize, what they consider sacred.
Right, by exclusively valuing materialism, fire, power, commerce. Society inherently moves away from harmony, connection, the rhythms of nature. You end up building a world based on acquisition, competition, overt strength.
Instead of cooperation, intuition, subtle balance.
It's a fundamental shift from a being-oriented society focused on inner qualities to a having-oriented society, driven by external possessions and achievement. That would influence everything, wouldn't it? Personal ethics, economics, relationships, creating the conditions for conflict and disparity.
And to really cement this new religion, this solar worship, and dismantle any lingering connection to the divine plan, the sources say the elites hijacked the sacred cipher.
Hijacked it. That's a strong word.
It implies a systematic top-down dismantling and repurposing of the old ways. Old rituals, fundamental understandings. It was an institutionalized subversion woven into daily life.
The scope of it, as described, is really quite breathtaking in its thoroughness.
For example, they moved the Sabbath to Sunday, the sun's day, directly overriding the original Saturday, Saturn's day, which was sacred to balance.
That's not a minor tweak. It fundamentally changes the weekly rhythm, shifting the day of rest and reverence from a balanced, reflective, Saturnian idea to an exclusively solar one. Think about the psychological impact of that.
Then they replaced the harmonious lunar calendar with an irregular solar one. That seems even more profound.
Totally. If humanity was meant to live in sync with natural cycles, the moon, the seasons, a lunar calendar naturally reflects that. It connects you.
An irregular solar one breaks that harmony. It detaches people from the natural flow of time, the cosmos, forces life into a more artificial, maybe rigid framework.
And it didn't stop there, did it? It extended to spiritual leadership itself.
Right. They created a solar messiah, Tammuz, to replace the true monarch, a complete substitution of spiritual authority, replacing an original, maybe balanced or lunar figure with one explicitly linked to the solar principle.
Establishing a new figurehead reinforcing the solar cult's ideology. A manufactured savior for a manufactured religion.
And finally, even ancient festivals got repurposed. They turned the spring festival of the reset into Ishtar's Easter Sunday, a celebration of the solar queen.
Wow. So an ancient ritual of renewal, balance, maybe tied to astronomy, completely co-opted. Turned into a celebration of a solar deity, Ishtar, further cementing the new narrative. Ensuring even holidays reinforce the deception.
Okay, let's just pause and absorb the gravity of that, the sheer scope. From the day of worship to the calendar to the figures of worship, even ancient festivals. It's incredibly thorough. Systemic.
It demonstrates a complete re-engineering of the entire spiritual and temporal framework of existence. It goes way beyond just introducing new beliefs.
It's dismantling and replacing the old structure with a new, unbalanced one, imposing a new order.
That systematic approach. It really speaks volumes about the level of control, intention, and maybe foresight behind this great deception and the agenda of the OK Club, as described in these texts. It's like resculpting reality from the ground up.
So, given this incredibly systematic inversion, this thorough hijacking of the divine blueprint, what does it all mean for us? For humanity, according to these sources anyway.
Well, the material's pretty blunt about it.
Yeah, it explicitly states, no hedging, that this great deception is the root cause of all of humanity's suffering in the pen.
The pen, that's the term they use for our current state, right? Limited awareness, confined reality. Maybe a metaphorical enclosure.
Yeah, it implies being trapped somehow, unable to reach our full potential. And the mechanism for this suffering is clearly identified too.
By tricking the world into worshiping only the sun. The elites, the players of the game, achieve this.
It's presented as a direct cause and effect. This spiritual shift leads directly to millennia of collective human suffering.
And what's fascinating is that direct, unapologetic causal link. It suggests our perceived reality, the daily challenges, the global conflicts. They're not random. They're not just individual failings or inevitable parts of being human.
No, the sources argue they are a direct intended outcome of this ancient deception.
Which is a huge claim. It's not just philosophical. It's a structural critique of our entire world, implying that if the foundation was different, if balance was restored, the suffering might actually decrease or even stop.
It suggests our societal problems aren't isolated issues, but interconnected symptoms of this diverse systemic imbalance.
Exactly. Not just individual flaws or natural evolution, but symptoms of a foundational distortion. It's a very bold claim about where our collective pain comes from.
And one of the most direct results of this exclusive solar worship, the sources explain, is this fundamental imbalance that just permeates everything. Global conflicts, individual anxieties, it manifests everywhere.
Not just a spiritual thing in temples. It affects daily life, the structures we build.
And the core problem identified is that obsessive focus on the solar principles of materialism and power.
Which makes sense. If you worship only one half of the whole, and that half is tied to acquisition, dominance, outward show, it naturally creates this dangerous tilt in priorities and actions.
And this obsessive focus, they state, has led directly to a world of greed, conflict, and spiritual decay. Let's break that down. Greed, the insatiable desire for more.
Stems directly from overemphasizing materialism. If wealth is the ultimate measure, there's no limit to what people or groups will do to get it.
Conflict arises when power is the main goal. Individuals, nations vying for control, dominance, resources, endless wars, social strife.
And spiritual decay that speaks to this deep loss of inner purpose, meaning authenticity, connection, which would naturally follow if introspection, harmony, connection to Gaea and the Kai system were tossed aside for material gain and external power.
It's like that image of a scale, right? Perfectly balanced. Then one side gets heavily weighted down, everything tilts, becomes unstable, ready to collapse.
That's the visual the sources paint, a continuous self-perpetuating cycle where pursuing these unbalanced principles just deepens the decay societally and personally.
Now let's go back to that lunar connection, the one to the Kai system that brought innate morality, intuition, the connection to the monarch. The sources say that's been Well, not just weakened, almost completely severed.
Severed. And the culprit isn't some abstract force. It's something very much part of our modern world.
Yeah, the constant noise of their industrial solar-powered world.
And noise here isn't just sound pollution, is it?
No, it seems to represent the relentless hum of a society driven purely by those solar principles, the constant striving, producing, consuming, the endless bombardment of information, distractions, demands on our attention.
This pervasive, unrelenting noise? The sources say it has systematically drowned out the subtle, intuitive whispers from the Gaea system.
It's like trying to hear a faint, guiding voice in the middle of a chaotic, amplified city. The more we lean into this industrial, solar-powered way of life, the more engrossed we become in its external demands.
The less able we are to tune into that delicate internal guidance.
And the result, a devastating one. Humanity has been disconnected from its own moral compass and divine archive.
It's presented as losing our internal GPS, our inherent sense of right and wrong, access to that collective ancient wisdom that was supposedly our birthright.
Leaving us adrift, always searching for answers and validation outside ourselves, relying on imposed laws, doctrines, fleeting trends.
Instead of an unshakable inner knowing.
Which raises that really profound, maybe unsettling question. If our moral compass, our meaning, our wisdom are tied to this intuitive connection, what happens when it's not just weakened, but deliberately obscured, drowned out by the very fabric of our developed world?
It's a massive loss of inner guidance. It suggests that maybe a lot of the ethical confusion, the anxiety, the disorientation we feel, it might stem from this deliberate severing.
Implying our modern environment, the constant stimulation, the pace, the focus on external achievement and stuff, actively prevents us from accessing deeper wisdom, our true moral center.
The noise, then, it isn't just a byproduct of progress. It's portrayed as a consequence, maybe even an ongoing tool of the Great Deception, designed to keep us from reconnecting.
The sources, as you can probably tell by now, they really don't pull any punches describing our current state. They call us, flat out, the pawns in the zoo.
That's a stark image, disempowering, cynical almost.
A zoo implying a managed environment, restricted movement, purpose defined from outside. And these pawns, humanity, have been living in a state of torment for millennia.
Not a new thing. A chronic condition stemming directly from that foundational deception, perpetuating cycles of suffering, confusion.
And the core of this torment, the texts argue, is what we've been taught to worship. Humanity has been taught to worship only half of their God.
And specifically, a half that's been deliberately amplified and distorted.
So not just an incomplete picture, a skewed, exaggerated, unbalanced one, designed to keep us permanently out of true cosmic alignment.
Imagine getting only half an instruction manual, and the half you have is wrong, pushing you towards actions that create instability.
The consequence is this state of perpetual imbalance, constant struggle, unease, internal and external conflict, preventing us from ever finding real harmony or peace.
And all this the suffering, the imbalance, the distorted worship, the disconnection, it's explicitly stated to be for the benefit of the players of the game.
Implying this conscious orchestrating force, the Oka Club, that actually gains from humanity being disoriented, imbalanced, suffering, making us unwitting participants in their grand design.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it posits a world where humanity isn't just mistaken or ignorant, but actively manipulated. Manipulated to maintain a state of imbalance for someone else's benefit.
It's a really challenging perspective, unsettling, suggesting our collective reality is maybe a controlled environment, a zoo where our suffering isn't accidental.
But a byproduct, maybe even an intended outcome for those running the game. It forces you into some deep critical thinking, doesn't it? About agency. Who really benefits from the way things are? Are we truly free or just playing out roles?
It definitely pushes you to look beyond surface explanations for our collective problems and consider, well, maybe something much deeper, more systemic, and possibly manipulative at play. Hashtag tag outro. Wow, okay. What an absolutely incredible journey we've just taken, diving deep into these, well, remarkable sources.
There's a lot to process, isn't it?
It really is. From this blueprint of profound harmony and balance, what the text called the way of the farmer, to this systematic, insidious deception that, if this material is accurate, has just profoundly reshaped human existence. We've seen how this divine plan life in sync with nature, that deep lunar connection, a balanced cosmos, was supposedly inverted by the OK Club into this great deception. A deception focused solely on the solar principle and its attributes: materialism, fire, power, commerce.
And we've really tried to explore the significant, far-reaching implications of that core inversion,
Hmm.
how that deliberate shift manifested in things like changing the Sabbath, altering the calendar, creating a solar messiah apparently led to a world of profound imbalance, conflict, and that severed lunar connection.
Yeah, ultimately culminating, according to this material, in humanity's current torment as pawns in the zoo, living in this state of perpetual imbalance, all supposedly orchestrated for the benefit of the players of the game.
It's a challenging narrative, to say the least.
Definitely. So, as you listening reflect on this deep dive, this contrast between the way of the farmer and the worship of the sun, this idea of being pawns in a game, maybe consider this provocative thought. If humanity was indeed tricked into worshiping only half of its cosmic truth, and if this imbalance is presented as the root of our collective suffering, what small intentional acts could you personally start to take in your own life? Acts to consciously re-engage with principles of balance, maybe intuition, or just the subtle rhythms of the natural world around you.
Even within our busy, industrial, solar-powered world.
Exactly, even within that. What forgotten wisdom might we start to rediscover if we actively began looking for that lunar connection again? Or just seeking the balance of alpha and beta, that lunar and solar harmony in our daily choices?
The sources don't really give easy answers on how to fix it, do they?
No, not really, but they certainly invite a profound re-examination of our priorities, our connections, and maybe where we place our focus. Definitely a lot to think about.